Welcome back, everybody. You can see that we are into the picks and bans of the second game in the series of 3. Unfortunately, Panky is AFK for a brief moment or two. He will be joining us very, very shortly, and we'll obviously both be shoutcasting this game together. We are into the picks and bans on the second and potentially final game of the day. Fnatic Raid Call picked up a victory in the very first game of the series after a terrible, terrible start. It was 0-4 down, turned everything around, and out of nowhere, Soez just turned on the heat and completely melted SK Gaming apart. Now SK, they find themselves on the second pick, second ban situation. And in terms of who we have already seen removed, Alistair, Karthus, and Nunu. So a couple more bans coming the way of SK, and one more in the hands of Fnatic. Orianna is still available. Jace is still available. We know Riven is still available. Diana is still available. A lot of champions who have become very, very scary and very worrying for multiple people. As I say that, though, Jace and Shen have quickly been removed. So Fnatic have got all three of their champions out of the pool. Alistair, Nunu, and Shen. And last ban from SK Gaming is in fact going to be Malphite. So they've removed that particular champion from the pool. Enrated is going to have the first pick this time round, and I have it on good authority that the bottom lane is going to have a little bit of fun with this matchup.
Interesting. I don't know what to look forward to with that. I mean, Malphite is not a champion we've seen banned too often throughout the course of this weekend. He has been banned a lot in competitive play over the last couple of months in general, but just this tournament, not so much. Maybe they've got something very, very special which he specifically on his own counters. That guy on just straight up 1v1 is a hardcore counter. I mean, there's a couple of different strategies that could be, whether it could be something in which his ult just out of nowhere knocks you up, so much damage it will do, or that massive attack speed slow on his ground slam. But it could also be nothing. It could just be a really good champion and they just
don't want to deal with him. Don't want to deal with him. We do see on the other side, though, Ezreal has been locked in as well as Diana. Aranea is actually the one that's locked Diana in, and we know that Diana can be played as a jungler. I believe that Freak, well, we know Freak plays everything as a jungler, we know that.
Yeah.
But Diana in particular does particularly well. That Moon Cascade of hers gives the damage shield. Once all three damaging abilities go off, it gets an additional shield. So while she doesn't have any, standard sustain or standard health gaining abilities, that damage shield acts in a very similar way to the crystalline exoskeleton of Skarner. So we'll see whether or not that's actually going to be played out. There's 15 seconds on the clock, counting down, and as I mentioned, Enrated said that there's going to be some interesting picks in this bottom lane. So will we potentially see a Katarina Blitzcrank bot line? 3 seconds, 2 seconds. It is going to get flicked over to Lee Sin, so that's probably not going to be the case. It does potentially mean that it's going to be Lee Sin in the jungle, Irelia in the top lane, but I'm going to have to keep guessing because I don't know what they've got in mind. SK Gaming now, on the other hand, they have 2 more picks that they need to lock in. They do need to see who they want to put. We've already seen Aranea playing Udyr in the jungle a couple of times during the course of the day, which would mean that Ocelot is going to be playing Diana in the mid lane. Ezreal and Leona in the bot lane. Once again, that must be the most common combination, or the most common group of champions in terms of, or in terms of that bottom lane, in terms of AD carry and support. So we'll see how this one plays out. Last 2 picks for Fnatic. 40 seconds on the clock. What are they going to do? What are they going to do? This is what I want to know. They've guaranteed this spot in the semifinals. I believe they've guaranteed themselves a first-place seed as well. Yep. With that previous victory, they should have more wins than losses if they do drop a game here today, or potentially 2 games.
Yeah.
So that's going to play into their favor. They are going to go through as a first seed. League of Draven. Welcome to the League of Draven. Are they going man mode? Are they actually going to give us the whirling blade of death man, Draven? Or is he just trolling me because I want to see him?
I think we might just be seeing it. I mean, they're going to have Blitzcrank Lee Sin already. That's a pretty fun combo in its own right. And I was about to say earlier, while we were discussing champions that have recently been changed, Katarina has had a pretty recent rework. And yeah, Peke picked that up properly for the mid lane. Oh, maybe for the mid lane, maybe somewhere else. That could be the fun they're talking about. But Draven Blitz bot lane and Peke in the mid lane.
I'm amped.
This is going to be brilliant. This is amazing.
The thing that's interesting about this is that Fnatic are going to be playing balls to the wall. All right, they've guaranteed the spot. They know they're going through, and they've technically got nothing to lose. So what that means is they can have some fun with their picks, and they can play very, very aggressively. I've had the pleasure of casting one of these sort of less than important matches for Fnatic in the past before, and I can say on good authority that they really do enjoy themselves. So this is going to be a good spectator game. What it does mean, though, is that it makes SK's life even more difficult. They're not coming up against a standard composition. They're not coming up against a team that is, in a position where they're going to be playing in a very important manner. So how do they react? How do they play their game? Because they need the wins. They need to pick up the next 2 matches to guarantee themselves a spot in the semi-finals.
And when you're up against a team that's playing like this, they're not exactly predictable. You can't sit here and think, okay, so if this was me, if I was doing this, I'd do this, this, and this. This is where I expect to find him. Oh, wait, no, hang on a minute, it's behind me, because, wait, they're not playing the champions I play. This isn't how I don't know what's going on.
Exactly.
How do you predict something like that?
And I'm a bit scared for Peke because he has locked in a Katarina. Katarina is it's a unique champion, and I know that from watching the Asian servers and Korean events, Chinese events, things like that, they actually play Katarina before the rework from time to time against teams that didn't have a lot of hard CC. If there was the ability to get a full channel on that Death Lotus out, then it deals a huge amount of damage. But Solar Flare, Shield of Daybreak, Bear Stance, Counter Strike, and I think Moonfall might do it as well. It pulls people towards you, so that'll probably interrupt.
Displacement.
Yeah, there were displacement ability. So, there's only 4 out of the 5 enemies that can cancel that ultimate of his. The flip side, of course, the static field from Blitzcrank. If it gets off a good silence, it's going to buy a second and a half of spinning, whirling blades of deathness in the hands of Peke.
Yeah, and I mean, nicely played by SK and nice picks from their part. The fact that Peke left that right until the last pick, and they still had that much CC that is now going to shut him down should the fight start and him not handle it properly. Credit to them. It's a really strong CC team just because of it. It's a really great setup. I mean, even against someone more orthodox in the mid lane, not a Katarina, that's still a great...
Securing those ganks. There's a fair amount of CC, Flash, Bear Stun, or, the Crescent Strike into the Lunar Rush, Moonfall, hold somebody in place, slow them down a little bit, and then allow Aranea to get in there. And the flip side, in the top lane, if Aranea does decide to come for that very early 3-minute or 4-minute gank that we've seen out of him so many times today, a Counter Strike into a Bear Stun stance is definitely going to buy them a lot of time. So there's some really, really good ganking opportunities and ganking abilities. The problem is the burst damage that's going to come out. Draven gets so much DPS from those spinning axes. Once he gets a couple of ability points into those, can get 2 axes up at a time, lands multiple axes, and just keeps hitting bang, bang, bang. If he's going to have the micro to keep catching those axes and keep throwing them out, it's definitely going to play into his favor. But it just remains to be seen. And I think this is the first time I will have seen Draven in professional competitive play.
I can say the same thing for that. One thing I will say, as it was just tweeted to me, unless you did it already, updates on Eclipsia Luna and TT Dragons. Had you already gone over that?
The only thing that I've looked at right now is that they are 1-0 up against Thermaltake. So that means that Eclipsia Luna are looking good to secure a spot in the semi-finals because SK are 1-0 down.
Yes.
So if SK lose this one and Eclipsia win, it's a guarantee. There's no way of it working out. If SK win this, and if they win it and Eclipsia win, it doesn't matter. It's not relevant because
SK still go through.
SK go through. They have more victories and less losses. So, their overall win to loss in terms of games actually plays into their favor. So there's a lot to play for the SK members. And, of course, they are playing with 2 substitutes, as has come up many, many, many times in chat. Kevin and Yellowstar have not been kicked from the team, as chat would like to have you believe. They're just having substitutes as they're away, had to go home on a shorter time frame. The skin war, because as Panky pointed out, it does give you more damage if you have more skins than your opponents, but because both teams have 5 skins, there's no damage bonus.
I have a dead pixel on my screen and now it's going to bug me. I apologize if... Oh, I did do the overlay.
First world problems. A dead pixel on Panky's screen. But nevertheless, it is there. Let's have a look at this low-level engagement. There's a lot of damage that can come out. If a rocket grab can be landed from N-rated, he is maybe going to be able to at least catch somebody and pull them backwards. In actual fact, hang on a second. I just looked at the names of who's playing what. N-rated is in the top line with Aurelia. Soaz is going to be playing Blitzcrank.
That's one way to give bot lane some fun. Oh, it could be top lane Blitzcrank. I've seen Blitzcrank top lane. It works. He does a lot more damage than people think. You can build a Trinity Force, and then he does tons of damage.
But versus the Jax? Yeah, I don't see that one really playing into their favor. The Rocket Crab, oh, it gets dodged so close. Does matter.